Good morning, Middle States. Rise up. History has its eyes on you. We start in 5 minutes. Good morning, Middle States.
price that you're willing to pay. You cry at the hallmarks won by Texas at Catalyst last year. Why so sad? Remember we made an arrangement when you went away. Now you're making me mad. Remember, despite our estrangement, we're your regen. You'll be back, soon you'll see. You'll remember you belong to us. You'll be back, time will tell. We'll remember that you served us well. Oceans rise, empires fall. We have seen each other through it all. And when push comes to shove, I will cross a bridge to Jersey to remind you of MSR. Da 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 dee da 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 dee da 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 da. You say our love is draining and you can't go on. We'll be the ones complaining when you are gone. And Lynn, don't take our Patty, 'cause she's our favorite Patty. Our sweet coordinator Patty. Our loyal, royal Patty. Forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Like before, I will fight the fight and you'll win the war. For your love, for your praise, and we'll always be your middle states. When you're gone, I'll go mad, so don't throw away this thing we had. 'Cause when push comes to shove, we will fly to Mississippi to remind you of MSR. Da 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 dee da 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 dee da da da. Oh yeah. Da 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 dee da 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 dee da 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 da. Oh yeah. Good morning, my loyal subjects from the Middle States region. Good morning and happy Saturday. Welcome to Tea with King George. So good to have you with us today, along with our special guest. Good morning.
Good morning, Your Majesty.
Thank you.
Is it, can I call you George?
I think I could take George today. I think that'll be fine.
Okay, fantastic.
Awesome.
It's so lovely to be here with you. I'm so excited to rise up and understand how important taking our shot is.
That is exactly what should have been done yesterday before I shot that music video, apparently, right? Yes, the importance of taking a risk, taking that challenge, taking that shot is very important, especially when you're about to make a fool of yourself.
History is happening in the Middle States. I'm really glad you showed up. I was a little concerned that you might not show up for tea this morning, but I'm really glad.
I fully believe in playing by the rules and doing things. I do my rules.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yes.
Should we talk about the colonies?
I'd rather not talk about that today.
Okay.
Yeah. But the Middle States colonies were some of the most challenging back in the day. And I suspect they still are
Because
for some
they
people.
rose up and they
did,
took their shot.
and made a lot of other people feel not so good about themselves.
A lot.
Well, some. Yeah. Middle States, it's so good to have you with us today. We are so excited to be joining you and having this moment. We are trying to make light of where we are and what's going on, but of course, we do have some things that we want to talk about this morning and focus on exactly what the Middle States region is as we think about rising up and taking charge of our own leadership.
Absolutely. And, when we talk about history having its eyes on us, right? And we think about the lyrics from Hamilton and the songs where we say, we're really lucky to be alive today. And I think that has so much meaning. But we'd like to take it into this idea of we're really lucky that we have the opportunity to be a part of not just community college, but Phi Theta Kappa and this organization that provides us with so many rich skills to tackle leadership and to understand what leadership means at all levels, right? King George was a leader.
He was. And, last night in Fran's conversation, I don't think she mentioned King George much, but there is leadership in King George. And sometimes we can learn our own leadership by watching some things that people do that might not be the right thing or the best thing. And as a leader, you can learn from those mistakes that someone else makes. And I think it's always important to stop and take that reflection. One of the ideas that King George talks about, right, is he does talk about love. He talks about the love he has for other people. He just shows it in a slightly different kind of way. And so as a leader, you often need to think about how are you demonstrating your appreciation, your kindness towards others, and then how is that being received by them? And are you showing it in a way that's going to make them become a better person as well?
I think the idea of, we always talk about, we can learn from watching great leaders, really great people, really great things. But I also think it's important to look at learning what not to do. That's just as important as learning what to do. And leadership helps us to be able to, look at the dichotomy of where we fit on the spectrum in our leadership. And that gives us room to grow, right? And I always say that success is fantastic. Success is really awesome. It makes us feel good. It builds us up. It gives us, it helps us to feel better about ourselves. But success is not really where we learn. Failure is where we learn. Failure is where we have the most opportunity to reflect and to take advantage of the next step, right? Because all we're ever doing is focusing on what's good and what's successful and our achievements and our accomplishments, and don't misunderstand that the winning is really nice. Right?
King George did not win, by the way, so
No.
it was not a good outcome for him.
Really nice to win, but in order to win, sometimes we have to fall, right? And the fall is where we learn. And surrounding ourselves with people that can help pick us up, and that we allow people to help pick us up. Building our network, right? That old adage of it takes a village. It takes a village to raise a leader, to raise a good leader, and that is that's empowered by the person within. Right, so finding who you are by allowing yourself to not put so much pressure. And I know as Kappans, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be the best at everything. And we don't have to be the best at everything. We just have to be the best at finding out what we're the best at. And that's the process. That's the evolution of building within. This is our beginning. And if we tap into it, it helps us to move forward.
So, PG, let's take a step back and actually let's think about how we got here, like physically dressed up in costume today, right? Conversations happened several months ago about where the convention, how the convention would run, what it would look like, and coming up with a theme. And I remember being in that conversation, and it was right around the time vaccines were becoming really popular, and the thought of not missing your shot came up in my head. And so I sent Patty a text, and I'm like, Patty, what about something about Hamilton and my shot? Right? And that shot through a text inspired Patty to do her own research, look at the lyrics of Hamilton, and here we are with this theme of Rise Up. And that's what the Middle States region has been doing for the past year, is rising up to the challenges that we faced. And then thinking about each of you individually and the challenges that you've overcome this past year. We've talked about being home and not leaving and not seeing family members and not being able to have those connections. And you've all been able to make those connections this past year and be joining us and taking advantage of the great work the Middle States region has done, which is really, really an applaud to you all for making what we've done be so successful.
I think that our leadership in the region, it is an honor to work with someone who is never afraid to take their shot, who is never afraid to take an idea and allow people to run with it. And I know that that's what our leader does. And to have that ability to allow people to give ideas and then put something out there and then sit back and say, okay, how is this going to evolve, is a journey of leadership that is only something that can be learned by practice and by thoughtfulness and willingness and the ability to believe. And when you find somebody that believes in you, no matter what they give you or throw at you, take it, because there are people in this world that can see things in you that you can't see in yourself. And then it's your job to pay it forward. That's the leadership that we have in the Middle States.
I will say there are very few people in the world, okay, maybe none, who I would put on a wig and a crown and go on Vimeo live in front of however many people are watching or will watch this. There's no one except for someone named Patty Van Adder, because that's how great she is, and that's why we do things, and that's why I could give her a hug and then say I hate you at the same time, because it's very true. Patty Van Adder.
Using Patty as an example, empowerment, I think, is really important to talk about when we talk about leadership, and how you use people in your life and that village that you hopefully are building to become empowered, but then also be empowered yourself from what people give you. And I think that that's a really important trait that true leaders bring. Mm-hmm. It's easy to be out front. It's easy to be out front and take all the glory and say thank you. And, King George is really good at that, right? Mm-hmm. He was really good at, what about me, right? The lessons that we can learn what not to do, right? And sometimes you need, when you talk about leadership that's transformational and leadership that allows growth, the leader will be out front when the guns are blazing and firing at you, and the leader will be behind pushing the subjects when the glory comes. Mm-hmm. And that's what we watch that in all work to aspire that. And that's tenure here at the Middle States, we've watched each year grow and transform. powerhouse for our students. For you.
And I think for me, when I think about a skill that is there within someone named Patty, it's this keen instinct on knowing who and when it's their time. Because I remember meeting Patty the first time, and she said to me, "Hello, I'm Patty, PTK. I think you need to come and do a presentation at our Honors Institute." And at that point, I didn't even know what any of that meant. And she had an instinct that just allowed her to have trust. And I said, "You want to know what I'm going to do?" "No, I trust you." And that's when I was on stage with a ball named Pat, and we were patting a ball around a stage, talking about leadership and not saying you're sorry, right? And she trusted in that moment. And I think that's something that, as we go about and think about who you can be as a leader, being able to empower others, and then taking that natural instinct that you have in allowing yourself to empower others is a huge takeaway that I've learned over these past several years.
Trust is something that, it's not easy for a lot. How many students do we hear? How many of you say, "Yeah, I have trust issues," or "I don't really trust." And we've all been through things that have created that sort of feeling. But when you learn how to trust yourself, you surround yourself with people that can execute your mission and help you visualize how to go to the next level. And that's what we get from Patty, right? And that allows us to trust all of you when we are teaching you about how to be out front. And I think that the trust that comes from being a good leader it's not easy. It's not easy to do that, right? It's not easy to, and sometimes, trust comes from necessity, right? Because we can't do everything. King George was very good at being in control, or at least he thought so, right? And that didn't work out so well for him.
It didn't work out well for me today either, because I lost all control over all of this experience. So I can relate to King George truly today. So PG, I think, we started today saying we had tea with King George, and King George was, I think, the supposed special guest. But I think there's someone who's a little bit a lot better than King George who might be with us.
So in the spirit of the king, I know how upset the king was when he had to enter the presidential ballroom.
I was very sad.
It was very difficult for you. I know. It'll be okay. But in the spirit of the presidential ballroom, it is my honor and my privilege to introduce you to President our special guest.
The true special guest today.
Thank you so much for being here. We're so happy to have you, and we're so happy that you were able to join us in the North Base. And this is transformational. It is, Patty going on to the next step, me taking on a new role, and you being here to support both of those that
did have this sort of disaster for a people organization, and not having a chance to be together was, just shocking to us. But watching what the chapters have done, and all of the fun virtual spaces in this event, and really responding in just the most appropriate way possible, I just can't be more proud of everything. But from a leadership perspective, that had to take place at all levels.
Thank you. The middle states, Phi Theta Kappa, the resiliency and the dedication speak volumes to the organization. And we thank you for always being there and always helping us to rise up.
And we've talked a little bit about the idea of a revolution. And I think within all of us this past year, we've had our own little internal revolutions that, as they talk about in Hamilton, have led to revelations about ourselves. Dr. Lynn, over this past year, what is that one revelation that you've discovered about yourself that has really helped you get through the challenges of this past year?
I think that the revelation that I have is really not so much about myself, but about Phi Theta Kappa in general. We knew there was some variability in the member experience. Someone might have a really great experience, someone maybe not has. And then when the pandemic hit, that really became apparent that we had this very strong that we had this very big difference in member experience. So I think stepping back and addressing that problem moving forward is something that, this event is, you're reaching out to how many people are attending this event compared percent-wise from the last?
We have 380 people registered.
You've never had 380 people. So you're reaching a broader audience with the message. And I think that's very important for us to continue that. But moving forward, we're building a new strategic plan this year. I think moving forward, we're going to have to look at that member experience and bring it in line where everyone's having a more unified experience. And I think that having these virtual spaces in addition to our face-to-face will be really the way that we go. It was just opened my eyes to the fact that we can be more inclusive. We don't have to just be together in a small group. And so I think the possibilities of moving forward are just, amazing.
Dr. Lynn, thank you so much for joining us this morning, for being with us, the Middle States region. I think we're going to see you again maybe later on at some point, perhaps. Maybe. Yeah. So we are so excited for day 3 of Middle States Convention. We have some other stuff happening this morning, right, PG?
Right. And I want to remind all chapters to get in touch with your advisors to make sure that you're placing your votes and casting your votes, right? Advisors, we're asking you please to cast the vote on behalf of the region. Make sure that you vote for all positions, regardless of state, even the ones that are uncontested. Voting is really important, and we'll close at 3 p.m. today. We're so excited about tonight and seeing all of the award winners and celebrating all of you here in the Middle States. And we, at 11 o'clock, we will begin our educational forums. We have 2 rounds. The same forums are repeating themselves, one at 11 and one at 12. So choose 2 that you really can't live without. And I'm really sorry. I know that it's a really hard choice, but this will be your first step in being a leader and choosing something that you know that you need to be able to reflect on. And George?
Yeah, so get dressed up tonight. Post your pictures on social media and hashtag MSR Rise Up. So enjoy your morning, Middle States. Pour that cup of coffee. Get to those ed forums.
Tea. And
I'm pretty sure we'll know you'll be back. Have a good rest of your day.